Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Saturday and welcome back to our class Wicca 101. This week's lesson is about how to cast a circle. Circle casting is a well-established Wiccan practice, and it is a skill that every Wiccan is expected to learn. Now, before you attempt casting a circle, be sure that you are physically clean and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually cleansed, and that you are in a good headspace. If you are unsure about what tools you'll need, please review the altar tool videos of previous weeks. So, the purpose of casting a circle. What it does is that it builds a temple, not out of brick and mortar, but out of energy, and this energy is often visualized as blue. To do this is to create a sacred space. And one of the criticisms of circle casting is that because the earth itself is sacred, why would we need to make a space sacred? My answer to that objection is that while the earth is indeed sacred in and of itself, the value of casting a circle lies in declaring that we are setting aside this particular space for spiritual purposes, whether it's worship or ritual, spell work, or even meditation. It's saying that right now, right here, I am doing something of spirit. Now, a circle also functions as a shield, which is a very practical reason to cast one. And the person or the coven who casts it, they decide who and what is allowed to enter and who and what is denied entrance. Because not every unseen energy or spirit is friendly to us, so it's sensible to take precautions. And during ritual, our senses are wide open, and we don't want to leave ourselves vulnerable to anything that's going to be unfriendly towards us and cause us problems, particularly if it decides to follow us home. Such things have been known to happen. So it's better to do a little bit of prevention rather than having to deal with doing a lot of cure. Now, once the circle is cast, it places those who are within it in between the material and spiritual worlds, even in between time and space itself. We are directly interacting with both realms simultaneously, and yet we are amongst neither. And the difference between a Wiccan circle and a circle cast by a ceremonial magician lies in that Wiccan circles cover the person or the coven that is working within it. Everyone is inside of that circle. But a ceremonial magician typically works outside of the circle, and that circle is used to keep something contained, including rather nasty entities from time to time. So circles can be cast both indoors and outdoors, but it is preferable to work outdoors whenever you have opportunity to do so. Just the experience of being outside, actually being immersed in the energies of nature, then casting the circle, worshiping and working magic, it can't be equaled. Even though we can make very nice indoor spaces, as you can see behind me. I have a pretty decent setup for here. But would I be happier just stepping outside if I, had a spot where I could do that at the moment? Absolutely. So, we work with what we have, but when we have the option to have something better, we take it. So, now let's talk about the how-to, and this will also cover a very basic structure of ritual. Get comfortable. So first you need to choose a suitable spot. Privacy is desirable. You don't want to be making an exhibition or be subject to, prying eyes of people who don't necessarily disapprove of what you're doing, but just might be passing by and wondering what you're doing. So it's just better to have an area that's off to yourself. Make sure the area is tidy. This is especially relevant if you are working indoors. Clean ahead of time if needs be. Now, if you desired and you are able to do so, mark the circumference of the circle either on the ground or on the floor. Drawing a circle with chalk is one option, although I think that would probably be better on tile or wood than if you did that on carpet. Don't ruin your stuff. But if you're outside, you could actually find a stick and then trace the circle on the ground. Another option is to use rocks, crystals, flowers, candles, some combination thereof. You can be creative and just use what you have and just kind of mark that outside boundary. The size of the circle you're going to need will be determined by the number of people who will be working within that circle. Customarily, a 9-foot diameter is generally what's recommended. And if that's just you, that's usually more than enough space, because you do want to have a bit of moving around room, but you don't want something that's so big that it's difficult for you to generate enough energy to actually cast the circle to encompass it. Let's see. If you are working with others, you will need to leave a space in the circle for a doorway for others people to enter, be sure you can visually and energetically close that doorway once everyone is within the circle. Next, if you're able to, because you don't always have the supplies available to you to do this, but it's not a nice touch, mark the cardinal directions either with candles or ritual tools or some kind of symbol associated with the element of that direction. Some ideas for the north would be a pentacle, a bowl of salt, a small mound of earth, anything of that kind. For the east, the censer or a less formal incense holder. If you have a way of hanging a wind chime, even that would be a really nice touch. And then in the south, candles, an oil lamp. I have seen some books suggest the use of lava rock for this purpose. And then for the west, a bowl of water, small fountain, just something to evoke those watery energies. Your next step is to set up the altar itself. Now, ideally, this is placed in the center of the circle, traditionally facing north or east. I prefer north, but there are other occasions which we will touch in later videos about why you might set up the altar facing another direction. But generally speaking, north, maybe east. Now, the altar can be made of any material. It is bonus points if it's wood. Oak is an excellent wood to use. It's sacred to the god and it represents power, strength, and firmness. But willow is sacred to the goddess. It also represents power and strength, but the strength of flexibility. And if you're lucky enough to have a permanent altar made of stone, well, that's awesome, and the rest of us are jealous, so enjoy. Next step, if you have an altar cloth, place it over the altar. As far as colors go, white is always appropriate, but if you do have the cloth available, you can use colors that coordinate with the seasons and the purpose of the ritual. The altar itself is divided into 3 main zones. The left-hand third is the goddess side. You will have a goddess statue or symbol or candle, a bowl of water, a cup or the chalice, a crystal, a bell. Then on the right-hand third, that will be the god side. That's where you would put a statue or symbol or candle representing the god. Keep the bowl of salt there, have incense and athame, the wand, bowling if you have it. And then when we come to the center third, this represents the union of the goddess and the god. So the censer or the incense holder can be kept here, as well as a nice main altar candle. It's important to have this because it'll be coming in handy later. This is also where you can place the pentacle, the cauldron, any spell materials you'll be using, and of course your Book of Shadows or grimoire. Next, you need to cleanse the energy of the space. So you take your besom and you sweep just above the ground or the floor. You don't really want to touch it. In a clockwise fashion, you start at the north and you say words to the effect of, with this broom, I cleanse and purify this space. Then you visualize sweeping away all unwanted energies. You walk the circle, sweeping your broom 3 times. Then you return the besom to its place by its altar. Next, you can cleanse the circle with holy water. To make holy water, what you do is that you scoop 3 helpings of the salt with your athame into the bowl of water, stir it, and while you're doing this, you say something to the effect of, by the power of earth is this water cleansed and sanctified. Then you pick up your bowl of holy water, and beginning in the north, you just lightly sprinkle the edge of the circle. You just dip your fingers in and just go out like that. It doesn't have to be a deluge. But while you're doing this, you will say, by the powers of earth and water is the circle cleansed, purified, and sealed. Do this 3 times, then return the holy water to the altar. Next, you'll be cleansing the circle with incense. You light the incense within your censer or your incense holder, and once it begins to smoke, you go with the earth at the circle, and you say, by the powers of fire and air is the circle cleansed, purified, and sealed. You do this 3 times. A lot of times, if you have a feather to help waft the aroma of the incense, that's very helpful. And once this is done, you return it to the altar. Then you ring your bell or you clap 3 times, and then you light the candles on the altar itself, and you raise your hands, up to the sky or to the ceiling, and you say, the circle is about to be cast. Greetings to the Lord and Lady. Your presence here is an honor. This is when you take your center candle from the altar, and you go to the north of your circle. And if you have a candle that's representing the north side, this is when you will light it. Then you raise your altar candle up and you say, awaken powers of the earth at the north so that you may lend your strength to the circle. Then you go over to the east. And then again you repeat, if you have a candle marking that eastern quarter, then you light it. Then you raise up your altar candle again and say, awaken powers of the air at the east so you may enliven the circle. Then you go to the south. And again, light your candle if you have one there. Then raise your altar candle and say, awaken powers of fire at the south so you may warm this circle. Then head over to the west, light the candle if you have one there, raise your altar candle and say, awaken powers of water at the west so you may cleanse this circle. Then you return to the altar, set the candle down, and then you pick up and unsheath your athame. You go over to the north, and you visualize an electric blue light coming from your body, traveling through the athame and shooting out of it. You walk the circle and you visualize this light expanding into a sphere, and you'll be doing this clockwise. And also keep in mind with this visualization, you're not just making a circle like this. Imagine it going over and below you as well. Then you'll say, I draw this boundary of the circle. It is above me and below me and all around me. I consecrate the circle to the Lady and the Lord so they may work with and through me, their child, and then you state your name. The circle is charged by the powers of the divine, the earth, and myself. Only love shall enter and leave. Now, if you are working with others, it is at this time that you cut a doorway in your predetermined spot with your athame, and then you let them in. As someone approaches, you ask, why do you come? Their reply should be, so I may enter the circle. Then you ask, how do you enter? They reply, in perfect love and perfect trust. And then you will say, enter and merry meet. Some traditions will use their holy water or have a special oil blend to anoint the foreheads of those who enter the circle, sometimes with the sign of the pentacle or another symbol that's relevant to their coven. So once this is done, you announce the circle is cast and all are within it. Let none leave without good reason. Then you use your athame, and then you kind of zip up the hole that you cut into the circle. And then if you have a physical representation of the circle on the ground, that's when you fill in the gap where you had your doorway. This way the circle is whole, both energetically and physically. So you return your athame to the altar at this point, and then you pick up your wand. Then go to the north, you raise your wand, kind of like so, holding it out like that. And you say, I call upon all the spirits of the earth to attend this rite and guard the circle. Hail and welcome. Then you go to the east, raise your hand with the wand, and say, I call upon all the spirits of the air to attend this rite and guard the circle. Hail and welcome. Then repeat this in the south. Raise your wand. I call upon the spirits of fire to attend this rite and guard the circle. Hail and welcome. Then off to the west, raise your wand and say, I call upon the spirits of water to attend this rite and guard this circle. Hail and welcome. If other people are present, it's customary for them to echo the hail after you greet each elemental power. So now you return to the altar, and with your wand, you make the motion of the infinity sign, and then you set your wand down. You then pick up your athame. You raise it between both of your hands like so. Then you go straight overhead, and you say, Hail to the elementals at the four quarters. Welcome spirits and ancestors. Hail and welcome to the Lady and the Lord to this circle. I stand between the worlds with love and power all around. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. So mote it be. Then you pour your libation into the chalice. You take a sip, and then pour a portion of that into the offering bowl or onto the ground. Then you ring your bell or you clap 3 times. After this point, you would then perform your main ritual, any spell work, crafting, or meditation, and we will discuss a variety of particular rituals later on in these classes. But for now, just know that this is where you do the bulk of your work. Once that's completed, then you perform the symbolic Great Rite, which is a representation of the unity of the god and the goddess. You pick up your athame with your projective, which is your dominant hand, and your chalice with your receptive or non-dominant hand, and then you slowly lower the athame into the chalice. And you will say, the masculine joins the feminine for the benefit of both. This sacred union creates life, love, and joy both in the divine realms and in the flesh. After this, you have the cakes and ale ceremony. And there's a lot of leeway with what kind of food and drink you can bring. Don't take cakes and ale too literally. Your drink that you bring does not have to contain alcohol, and if you are able to bring food that you prepared for yourself, bonus points. So touch your athame to the food, and then you say, I give thanks to the Lord and the Lady for the abundance of the earth and how it sustains me. May I, in turn, offer food for the body, mind, and spirit to those who seek such of me. Then you put a portion of the food onto the offering plate and say, please accept this food as a gesture of gratitude for all the blessings you've given me. You eat a small portion of the remaining food and you say, may I never hunger. And if you're in circle with other people, you will pass around what's left and allow everyone to take a bite. And as you give it to them, say, may you never hunger. Next, you touch your athame to the chalice and say, I give thanks to the Lord and Lady for the gifts of the vine, the sacred waters. May I, in turn, offer refreshment for the body, mind, and spirit to those who seek such of me. You pour a little bit from the chalice into the offering bowl or onto the ground, depending on where you're at, and say, please accept this drink as a gesture of thankfulness for all the blessings you've given me. You take a sip from the chalice and say, may I never thirst. And this is where you either pass the chalice or more, if you're concerned about sanitation, you pour more of your libation into individual cups. To everyone, pass it around to everyone in the circle and say, may you never thirst. So after this point, it's time to open up the circle. You hold your athame in your projective dominant hand and it's level over the altar and say, thank you, Lord and Lady, for blessing me with your presence and sharing this time with me. You have guarded and guided me. I came in love and now I depart in love. Then you raise your athame high above you, like a salute, and you say, love is the law and love is the bond. Merry did I meet, merry do I part, and merry will I meet again. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. The circle is cleared, so mote it be. Then you will kiss the flat side of the blade and you return the athame to the altar. Then pick up your wand, go to the north. What you'll be doing is you'll be raising your arms in farewell to each element, and then you will lower and close your arms after each farewell. And this is when you will snuff any candles that you have burning at the quarters. So, to the north. Depart in peace, powers of the earth, my thanks and blessings take with you. Hail and farewell. Then to the east. Depart in peace, powers of the air, my thanks and blessings take with you. Hail and farewell. Then south. Depart in peace, powers of fire, my thanks and blessings take with you. Hail and farewell. And then to the west. Depart in peace, powers of water, my thanks and blessings take with you. Hail and farewell. Then you set your wand back onto the altar, and you raise your arms back up into the open position. And you will say, beings and powers of the visible and invisible, depart in peace. Thank you for the aid you have provided me in my work, for your whispers in my mind. I ask for your blessing from the other world. May we ever have peace and harmony between us. Hail and farewell. The circle is cleared. Then you'll pick up your athame. You'll go to the north, and then you will then walk to the west, south, and east and turn. And you'll be saying, the circle is open yet unbroken. The circle is open yet it remains. The power of the circle is drawn back into me. The circle is cleared, so mote it be. And this is when you will be visualizing that blue energy that you used to create the circle. Picture it going back into the tip of your athame, traveling through and back into your body. Then you will go to the altar and you'll touch the tip of the athame to your forehead. Be careful. Don't be poking out your eyes or piercing your skin. Be sensible. And as you have it touch, visualize the blue energy that made the circle just swirling back into you. You'll raise the athame above you as a salute, and you'll say, the ritual is ended. Then return the athame to the altar. You open your words outward, like so, palms up, and you will say, blessings have been given. Then you'll put your arms together, crossed over your chest, and then sometimes, it depends, not everyone does bow, make a bow, or do a curtsy at this, but many do. And say, and blessings have been received. Then you put your hands forward, with your hand together at the front, facing outward, and you'll say, may the peace of the God and the Goddess remain in my heart, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul, so mote it be. Then you will ground any excess energy still in your system by touching your palms either to the ground or to the floor. You'll put away your tools, clear the altar, empty the chalice and the offering plate onto the ground or in a designated spot, and be sure to clean up your tools and tidy the ritual area. And that is the basics on circle casting. There are a few things that I would like you to keep in mind. First, explaining the process of casting a circle sounds much more involved and intimidating than it really is to perform it. And when you are performing it, don't worry if you are stumbling over words or forget something, or you're having to consult your notes. Everyone makes mistakes. This goes for people who are brand new or people who've been doing this for a while. Sometimes your brain just goes fizzled on you. It's okay. And of course, no one ever memorizes their rituals immediately, but it does become smoother and easier with practice. And if you keep at it, it will flow naturally. You won't feel awkward. You won't need to reference notes. Your ritual will probably be more simplified. It'll be coming directly from your heart. And always remember that practice makes better. So, if I haven't frightened you off, homework for February 5th through 11th. Number 1, research several methods of casting a circle and make notes. As always, I have shared with you a way of doing things. It is by no means not the only way, so do your homework. 2, attempt to cast a circle and close the circle yourself. This can be either a process that you've researched or something you've written yourself. But if you don't feel the urge to write a process yourself, do not drive yourself crazy over it. It's perfectly okay to use the rituals that other people have written, and if you do feel the need to create your own, that's something you could do further down the road. And then 3, journal about the experience. So, that is it for this week's class. Thank you for giving me your attention. If you would like to discuss it, I will be having a voice chat and the lounge on our Discord group, Blackbird's Brew, Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Time. There's a link to join in the description box below if you haven't already. And of course, please subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave a comment. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.